Hello and welcome back to our romantic renewal, your journey to lasting relationships. Sean Donovan and Mahesh Trivedi with you today. And just a reminder to click that subscribe button and the bell button to be notified when new lessons become available. Our lesson today is about communication differences. In our last lesson, we learned about the importance of listening, of asking open ended questions, and of finding the right time to communicate. We also discussed some differences in the ways people communicate. In this lesson, we're going to explore more in depth some natural differences in how people think, express themselves, and feel surrounded by people. So, Mahesh, we previously talked a little bit about introversion and extroversion. Would you like to talk a bit more and so we can understand a bit better the role of introversion and extroversion?
Yes, Sean. This is a really quite, like a uh, detailed understanding required because people only know the introversion and extroversion just as a surface level. But in that is what like in earlier lesson 8, um, uh, you were introduced to the concept of introvert thinkers and extrovert thinkers. So let's dwell more deeply into this topic as it will help you understand the differences in yourself, your partner, and others in the relationship. So most people think of introverts as being shy and withdrawn from others, um, but this is not correct. Understanding introverts is more complex. So there are three types of introverts. So the first one is social introverts. The second one is introverted thinkers. And third one is those who are both. So knowing characteristics of an introvert will assist you in understanding why they often like being alone. So consider this important characteristic of introverts. Number one, a social introvert needs alone time. So the more socially introverted they are, the more alone time they need. So being with people, especially in groups, drains the energy from a social introvert. So to recharge, social introverts need to be alone. So if your partner is social introvert, they will need time apart from you. It doesn't have anything to do with you. They just need to spend time alone to get their energy back. You know. Another aspect is that if you are both socially introvert, like you and your partner, then you will both need space from each other, like a personal space. So there is nothing wrong with relationship. You simply need alone time to recharge. Like recharge, we say recharge our batteries. Number two, an introverted thinker sorts through their thoughts and feelings internally. So even if they are the expert in a subject, they will take a few seconds to gather their thoughts before they speak. So introverted thinkers are private people. They keep their inner world close to them. When introverted thinkers share their life with you, they have handed a sacred part of themselves to you. The third important thing to understand is a person who is a social and thinking introvert may seem withdrawn from you and the world. So there is a tremendous amount of activity happening in their quietness. So if you are an introvert, know your needs to recharge. If you are an extrovert, know an introvert's behavior is not about you. Uh, Basically, be adaptable and be patient with your partner. Now, one more aspect is there that an individual can be an extroverted thinker, socially extroverted, or both. So it's a consider this characteristic because every humans are different. So a social extroverts needs people to judge. It's just opposite to introvert. Introvert with people, their energy is drained, while for extrovert with people, they they charge, they recharge. So for them, that is a necessity. So being with a group recharges them. So they love parties and they will strike up conversations with anyone around, and they are very social. So, like in our Gallup strength, they are also called who. So, like a winning over the people. So, being alone is draining them for a social extrovert. So, when they are alone, their energy is drained. An extroverted thinker thinks out loud. This means they begin their thoughts, that thoughts process, with one idea and it's somewhere totally different because they can be anywhere. So they are not changing their mind, they are examining their options aloud. So when you ask an extroverted thinker questions, they will answer immediately. Like for introvert, it takes time. So extroverts have a difficult time understanding introverts, and introverts can find extroverts overwhelming.
If I talk about extroverts and how they work through things in their mind, um, we we worked previously with a lady and another manager in our area. Was very frustrated with her, so the difference in communication styles, because I had to explain to him that he just wanted the answer. But the way she communicated was she would have to do a brain dump
Yeah, yes,
and tell you everything. so that you understood how she got to the answer. But she couldn't just give the answer, which is what he wanted. He just tell me the answer. No. But she would do this big brain dump of everything, and there it is. It's all
Yeah.
out there.
By the way, I am extrovert, so I enjoy parties. I don't have trouble talking with anyone. And when you ask one idea, I will be ended up somewhere. And
Well, yeah. So I mean, these are extremes, but they're two different ways of looking at life. So
yeah, yeah,
some major miscommunications may occur because people are looking at life differently. We see it in politics, we see it in families, we see it in business, we see it in religion.
yes,
Source of the problem can often be identified as the thinker versus the feeler.
yeah, yeah,
So let me expand on that. A thinker can feel and a feeler can think, but they make decisions differently. A thinker looks at the world and makes decisions based on rules, laws, and social norms. Right and wrong is important to them. A feeler will make decisions based upon feelings and relationships. It's not that right and wrong aren't important, but they're likely to take into account an individual's feelings. The communication challenge comes when the feeler is discussing an issue from an emotional perspective and the thinker is coming from a rational perspective. When each person believes their perspective is correct, hurt feelings and confusion and frustration can develop. So instead of discounting the other person's viewpoint, know that their perspective can broaden your viewpoint. In a later lesson, we'll discover strategies that we can use to ensure everyone is understanding what the other is saying. Do you want to continue a bit, Mahesh?
yeah. So Sean, there are two special types of people normally, uh, especially for the communication. So good communications requires that you access non-verbal informations, like the things which we don't say. So the words of the messages are only 20% of the message. Body language and tone of the voice are the most of the communications. In the same way, there are two types of people at opposite extremes in picking up social cues. So, number one type is highly sensitive people. So, they are easily overwhelmed in the situation most people consider as a normal. So, like a sudden noises, like a bright lights and intense feelings can send an HSP, like a highly sensitive people, like a running for cover, like for the rescue. About 20% of people identify themselves as a highly sensitive people. And of those, about 70% are introverts and 30% are extroverts. So when a highly sensitive people we call as a HSP, like as a acronym, say they need to leave, they mean right now. They are at a point where their anxiety level is high. And when in the conversations with a highly sensitive people, be sure that they are calm and relaxed. So communicating with a highly sensitive people when they are overwhelmed results in misunderstandings and hurt feelings for both the people. So this observation is very much required to keep the relationship is going. And number two, some people have difficulty picking up on social cues. So they either can't or have difficulty noticing when someone is sad, upset, or anxious. That is why I use the word observation. So you observe while communicating how your partner is feeling or another person is feeling. The things is for this second type of people is that their brain functions differently than most people. So don't take it personally when they don't notice you are upset. You need to tell them what is going on with you emotionally. So they won't figure it out on their own.
Hmm. So again, we've covered quite a lot. Well, we've covered a great deal in this particular lesson. And again, I think people viewing, if you're viewing, you'll want to go back and rewatch and watch particular parts a few times over and over again to grasp some of those concepts and some of those things that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
We've discovered how there are differences in personality which affect how we give and receive messages. And when you and your partner are different, it's important to take more time in communication and working to understand each other. Now, hopefully you can then go forward and lay the foundations for communication. And we're going to learn about 4 different ways people talk to each other. 3 are both unhealthy and common, and there is one healthy way to communicate. But before we do that, as I said, go back, rewatch this lesson, stop and start the bits you need to get clearer again, and rewatch those a few times, and then reflect on that, make your own notes, see how this applies to you, and then come and join us in the next lesson.